Thank you for being a part of the Band Director Bootcamp community. I'm Lesley Moffat, and I've been your host for a bunch of episodes, and I thought it's time to take a moment and just address you, say hi, and kind of take this whirlwind and condense it down and mention what we're all about here. Because just in a few short months, we've produced more than 60 episodes of our podcast, which is geared towards productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. Because this is a fantastic job we get to do, but it can be hard. So I'm here to help with that. And I've gone and I've listened to all these interviews, and I've talked to all these folks, these seasoned band directors that have come on. And I'm noticing there's a theme that comes up as we talk about this. There are two things that these teachers have talked about that they have learned in their long band directing careers that have helped them. One, and sometimes they've learned this lesson in a very hard way, like I did. One is the importance of taking care of their own well-being. And we can talk about that all day. And sometimes we don't understand it until we've not done it. And then we pay the price. And so a lot of folks are coming on and talking about that, hoping to help those of you that haven't hit that burnout stage yet, keeping you from doing that. So that's a big one, caring for our own selves. So we've got more to give to our students. And the second piece that keeps coming up is having a mentor. And having a mentor helps you take care of your own well-being because you get so much support and all those things. So I'm like, hey, how about if I just take an episode and we talk about this a little bit, because these are my passions. I've written a couple of books out there. I might have mentioned that in my past. And I'm hearing from people all over is that these books could be about them. The first book is titled, I Love My Job, But It's Killing Me. And so many of us as music educators find ourselves in that role, loving what we do, putting our all into it because we have all these dreams, all these things we've envisioned doing our whole lives. We wanted to, inspire students and give them the same experiences that we had as students in our music programs because we know it's great. So we jump in and we do it all. We say yes to everything. And we find ourselves, building programs, dealing with things that are hard, and it can be overwhelming. It can take over our lives. And before we know it, we find ourselves struggling. At least I did, and a whole lot of people that I've been talking to have. And so what folks are talking about when they do this is stuff that we didn't talk about back in the olden days. When I was in college in the early 1980s, we learned all the important things about taking care of our students and instruments and pedagogy and how to take care of your schools and communities and all of those things. But nobody ever talked about taking care of ourselves. And imagine, if you will, as band directors, if we just kept putting those school-owned instruments in kids' hands day after day, year after year, never took the time to deal with any of the maintenance, right? No valve oil, no reed replacement, nothing. Just, hey, here you go. Just keep going. No matter what, keep going. It's hard. The drill key doesn't work, but don't worry. Just keep going. We get like that as humans. We get worn down and exhausted, and we don't refresh or take care of ourselves, and we're just like a busted out clarinet. We can't function well. So a lot of the folks that I talk to, as with my own personal story, find that when we throw ourselves into our jobs at the level that it takes to do this work at the levels that we all want to do it, that often leads to things like health issues. That's a biggie, like from everything from high blood pressure to attention and focus issues to sleep problems to aches and pains, weight gain, weight loss, inability to sleep, all the things that come along with stress. That even if you love your job, it can be stressful, right? And our health issues come up because, again, we wear ourselves out. We never get to shut down. We're all type A control freaks, right? And it's hard to do. I've had other folks talk about the toll it takes on relationships with a partner. I had a guest that talked about his 30-year marriage didn't survive because it was often secondary to the band directing position. That's a real thing because we get so involved and engrossed in our positions as band directors because that's what we've been told and trained and thought that we had to do. Other folks, lots of moms especially, not exclusively, but a lot of moms talk about the guilt of even when I'm present physically with my own children, my mind is still at school, still at work. Oh my God, that was me a lot. And then so many of us, again, raising my own hand, we self-medicate. We rely on different substances. We think a well-balanced dinner turns into balancing a glass in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other, because we're just simply like struggling to get through the days, and everything's taking longer than it feels like it should. And it's hard work. But we want to do things for the kids. We want to have amazing programs. So we keep doing it. We want a high quality music program where our kids can thrive. We want to have supportive parents and administrators and students in our community when it comes to things like budgets and opportunities and people volunteering and mentoring our students. And we want to be able to go home at the end of the day with the energy that we need to do the things that we want to do and need to do, like tending to our family, to ourselves, maybe having hobbies, right? But how do you do that? It's hard. It's really hard if you don't have. Well, we're getting on to point two. The second thing that everybody keeps talking about is a mentor, right? Let's think about this. As a music educator, you became extremely proficient at least one instrument, probably even more. But you didn't do that by just going to classes and band every day. You at some point invested in a mentor. We call those private lesson teachers or a coach, right? You showed up at a lesson every week. Well, in my case, me, my trombone, and my teacher. And I was held accountable for what I was to work on. I had somebody there who could listen and respond and give me pointers, who could say, hey, let me show you an easier way to do that. Or if you change this, your sound will get better. And that those teachers that I had, whether it was for piano or for trombone, and like all of your teachers, they looked at what you needed and they could really get in and help you just grow by leaps and bounds versus what you could really do when you're sitting in a whole gigantic ensemble with 60 other students and all the different instruments. So a mentor, it wasn't just important when you were a student as an instrument learner, but we talk about the mentorship as a teacher, having someone help teach you. And I've invested in mentors recently. I want to share a couple of times and reasons why, because I see so much value in this. And it wasn't really until the last 6 or 7 years of my teaching career that I actually did this. So it took me a long time to figure this out. And I'm going into year 36 here. So yeah, I'm a slow learner. But I wanted to write a book for a very long time. I just wanted to write books that could help teachers with teaching stuff, band directors specifically. And I tried a million times to start the books and try to get a focus. Well, what am I going to write about and all this? And then 6 years ago, I'm like, I'm never going to figure this out on my own. I just don't have time while I'm teaching and raising a family and all those things. And I also just didn't know where to even start. You Google how to write a book, but you can only get it so far. How do you filter through everything? So I found somebody that teaches people how to write books. And she made this audacious claim. She's like, you work with me and you will get a book written in 90 days. And I'm like, that seems a little crazy. But she had this system and she talked about it. And she had lots of folks that have worked with her. And she said, work with me. And so I did. And 90 days later, with her help as a mentor who showed up weekly for lessons to teach me how to come up with an outline, how to go through this process, 90 days later, I had an international best-selling book. That happened twice, because she taught me a process. And then I was able to easily repeat the process. I can write books in less than 90 days now because I was taught an effective process that I can now apply to other content, other book topics, because now I understand a process. I was like, what? This is crazy. So what I struggled to do for decades, I was able to do in 90 days very successfully, I might add. And it was fun and not the stress that I had imagined it would be. So that was really cool, that investment. Well, once I did that, then I learned books don't market themselves. Like, oh, really? I thought, well, I got a publisher. They're going to do all the work. And that's just not how it works. So my learning curve over the last 5 years has been, I have to learn to market books, to communicate with businesses, to work with publishers, to work with bookstores, to do all of these things now. I've started a business. I knew nothing about starting a business, but now it's like, well, I've invested in writing this book, or eventually a couple of books. And if I don't market them, I will have wasted my money. Sort of like if you invest in going to college to get your music ed degree and then you burn out as a teacher and you quit, you've just invested all that money and then you've done nothing with it. And that's what I thought. Now that I've written the books and I've got these books, I need to learn to market them. And I need someone to help me because I was just Googling, how do I market my books? And it wasn't happening. So I found someone who specializes in marketing and helping people do this. And I'll tell you, my stress levels went from, how am I going to do this to, oh my gosh, I'm struggling with something. Let me jot that down. And when I talk to Christy at 4:00 on Wednesday, she'll help me with that. My stress levels go way down when I know I've got somebody who's going to help me with this. She's going to show up. I'm going to show up because I've invested the money. So I'm not going to skip it. Even if I don't want to show up, I show up. She shows up on the other end of that Zoom call because she's accepted that responsibility as my mentor and taking my money. And so we show up, we make space for one another, and I have an hour of her time where we zero in on my business. She looks at my website, she digs into my numbers, and she does those things that specifically help me. So I'm growing by leaps and bounds. It's been incredible. Couldn't have done it without somebody who'd been there, done that, and helped other people do it before. And so now I'm saving time and I'm getting so much more done. So that's why I brought those stories up, because I want you to think about that as a music educator. Nobody talks about getting a mentor, or investing in a mentor. We often have people say, oh, I'll be your mentor. Call me if you need anything. What really happens? Maybe you meet up once for coffee, but really life happens and you get busy and, just things go on and you don't really get that consistent, solid help with focus on you and what you need. That's why I do what I do. I actually mentor people, but in a different way. It's an investment. And so I want to, find someone, it doesn't have to be me, but if you find someone to be a mentor for you as a teacher, someone who can regularly check in with you, help you set your goals, help hold you accountable for your goals, and your challenges might be in planning trips or team building with your students or better rehearsal techniques, or maybe you need to start a booster group. You might be somebody who wants to do a retreat with your students, but don't even know where to start, or you need help with helping with challenges coming with admin or parents or any of a million things. You work with somebody that's experienced with those things who can hear your situation and help you do that. That's what I do, by the way. I love it. It's like helping students. You've all done this. You've watched a student struggle on their instrument, whatever instrument it might be. And then after watching them for a moment, because you've done this before and you're an expert, you can look at a kid and go, hey, Alex, let me show you an alternate fingering or an alternate position for this. Try that. And then they're like, whoa, what? And all of a sudden, something's become much easier for them. They wouldn't have even known to look for an alternate fingering because that might not even be on their radar, but you could help them do that, help them find it. Now they've got this tool they can use in other situations where that might come in handy because you've taught them something like that. And that's what we do with my band director boot camp groups. You invest your time and resources to do this. You're going to come out with new strategies and connections with other people that are in the same place. You'll have less stress because you're going to have a partner that you meet with regularly to help you. I'm going to help you find a healthier work-life balance if you're working with me. One of my recent clients that I worked with, middle school band directors, I'm going to tell you what she said, just so you get an idea, because people are like, well, what is a band director coach? What do you do in band director boot camp? I'm going to tell you what she said. She says, I love Lesley's classes. Every week, Lesley sparks new ideas for me, and I feel so supported and inspired. She makes me feel confident that I can tackle this with a good plan and some stillness. I look forward to class every week, and I'm excited when I roll out new lessons and see my students progress every week. She is able to respectfully coach and talk more specifically about what my students need in my teaching situation, and she does this for each of us in the group. What I've learned has been invaluable and has made me a calmer teacher who has been more present with my students and has made me actually enjoy teaching during and after a global pandemic. So, I gotta say, if you want to do this important work, if you love being a music teacher, and you know the work you're doing is making a difference in kids' lives, and you want to keep doing it for the long haul, you want to be a really badass band director, but you don't want to burn out, let's talk. I'd love to chat with you if you don't have somebody else that you already have as a mentor that shows up for you. Let's talk about what it would look like and what your life would be like if you had somebody to walk this walk with you. Okay, how do you do that? I'm going to put a link in the show notes, and you can click on that to set up an appointment with me, a little discovery call. And we can talk about how you can literally go from, I love my job, but it's killing me, to be in more of a place like you're able to love your job and lessen the stress. This is my passion. This is what I'm doing because I know the value of music education in kids' lives. It has been my whole life. And I see so much goodness in it. And I see so many music teachers struggling and burning out. And it is my mission on this planet right now to stay current in my own classroom so I understand that struggle and to be there to walk other teachers through this walk, because it's an exciting journey and the payoff is great. But you can't do it alone. Don't try to do it alone. And just showing up like you do for the different podcast episodes, whether you're a contributor or a listener or both, the work you're doing matters. And so do you. Thank you for being part of this community. I look forward to continuing to learn and grow with you and to making a difference for kids every day through the magic of music education. See you next time on Band Director Bootcamp.